Now, if you want to really drive him crazy, you say 12 more years.
All right. Happy Monday. Welcome to another great week of Spicer and Company. I'm Sean Spicer. And you just saw a clip of the president as he began to accept his nomination for a second term in Charlotte, North Carolina, as the Republicans kicked off their convention.
Yeah, that's right, Sean. Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Keith. As you mentioned, Sean, Republicans kick off their convention officially by that. But also tonight, we're going to see some big name speakers on stage, including former Ambassador Nikki Haley and the president's son, Donald Trump Jr.
That's right. And this show, my friends, this is your front row ticket to the convention. No delegate pass needed. You just stay here. We're going to look at all of the big speakers each night. One person intimately familiar with all the speaking and the logistics that go on before a nominating convention is our first guest. She saw it firsthand like no one else. Former vice presidential nominee and former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin. Governor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate being here.
Governor, you know, last week we saw the media fawn all over Kamala Harris. What a historic choice it was. You were a historic choice as well. I think that there's no question that the media covered Kamala Harris a lot different than you. You, in fact, have called out some of that media bias. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm looking, kind of obviously personally looking at the coverage of Kamala versus the rollout of my candidacy. And I'm thinking, hey, this is the difference between kid gloves and Edward Scissorhands, how the coverage is. Personally, it was my family that got ripped apart that really, they tried to clobber me, finding an Achilles heel. That would be kids, family, going after the, personal aspects of my life, not my policies, not my record as an administrator, not my goals and visions for our country and for unity, but when they go after your family, which you haven't even touched with Kamala, and I don't think they will, there's a huge difference.
Yeah, I think it's funny because, they gave the Democrats a free pass last week in terms of Biden's past, his history, his record, his policies, his gaffes, his lies. And then immediately heading into the Republican convention, they talk about how they're going to cover it so differently and really kind of figure out whether they're going to cut away or how they're going to fact check it. This is something that I think we both can agree that the media will cover the Republican convention much different than the Democratic convention. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know that firsthand. And, it's really unfortunate to consider that the media, which in the past kind of served as the referee between parties, between factions, between philosophies of how government should run. It's a shame that the media as a referee has totally taken sides and has for some time now, because, then it's 2 against 1. There certainly isn't an even playing field, but that means that the Republicans have got to be more unified than ever, because in that unity is strength. When the Republican Party starts being divided, then, we crumble. Our positions are perceived as crumbling, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, it's a given. We know what we're going into, that referee, at least as considered in the past, the media, they're not going to give any kind of conservative fair shake.
Governor, last week the Democrats rolled out a lot of minorities, a lot of women, trying to make this contrast that they were the party that represents them. What do you think the Republicans need to do this week to kind of get people to recognize that that's the party and this is the president that they should vote for?
Well, I took last week's speaker lineup and what they talked about is a lot of politic, and a lot of politicians were they were trotted out, and they were the ones who were speaking on behalf of everyday Joe Blow American out here, raising our families, running our businesses, paying our taxes, as opposed to what the Republicans should be doing. And that's really portraying reality. And a reality isn't a bunch of politicians, and hopefully we don't have a bunch of just politicians speaking on behalf of making America great again, the not just the theme, but the reality of what President Trump has been doing for this country. because the average American, not only do they not have time for a lot of politicking, but it gets super annoying, so it gets shut off in their ears and in their mind, because it's really repetitive, and it's a bunch of BS for the most part, the politicking part of all this. So hopefully GOP is going to portray reality about positively impacted people that have been able to benefit from the tax cuts and the more economic freedom allowed all of us, that has been, it's certainly been under the purview of President Trump.
Governor, talk to me a little bit about the logistics. When you took the stage last time, you hit it out of the park. There was a lot of folks that just said, we've never heard of this governor from Alaska. The lipstick on a pig line went viral. Everybody was Googling Sarah Palin. But part of it, to be honest, was when you spoke and you used those lines, the audience went nuts. How difficult would it have been to do what you did without an audience like the Democrats did? And how smart of it is it or not that President Trump is making sure that there's an audience there?
That's a really good question. I haven't been asked that before. For me personally, one, thank you for those kind words about that speech, but it must not have been good enough, because I've never been invited back, never been invited to a convention, never been invited to an inauguration, never been invited to a victory party. We've kind of invited ourselves to a couple of things, but so no, a lot of that machinery within the GOP hierarchy, they must not have appreciated much with what my little team and I have done, because we were kind of, ousted from a lot of that, I don't know, whatever the machine does, but that's okay. We'll, our time will come. But as for an audience, for me personally, it's all about who you are speaking to. So, have that sincere atmosphere of speaking to the people, those at the GOP convention at the time, representing all of America, the audience, yeah, certainly there was that keep you going. But with my speech, like that line about the hockey moms, lipstick and, the pit bull, the difference, my teleprompter wasn't working, so I just had to ad lib a lot of it. I ad libbed that line, ad libbed.
No, wait, hold on.
Because of the audience.
Have you ever told? I never knew that. You ad libbed that line?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you know how I did? Because it was the audience. I'm looking out there, and there are these homemade signs that say "Hockey Moms for Palin" and all this, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, the difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull, because that's like an old joke in my neck of the woods. So ad-libbing that and a couple of the other things. But it's funny, as I'm reading the speech, on teleprompter, but I pretty much had it memorized. So I'm going along and looking at the teleprompter when need be. And then it stops, the bottom half of the teleprompter, you couldn't read what was coming up next or anything. I thought, is this an kind of an indication of what is to come? And it was.
So it would have been a heck of a lot harder. In fact, impossible. You would have never said the line if there wasn't an audience.
That's a great point. So that was a God thing, right? I mean, there's always a reason for something. And through, my mind was going like, gosh, dang it, the teleprompter's not working, I kind of was thinking, what good is going to come out of this? But you're right. Got to throw out a couple lines that politicos probably wouldn't have thought of to write.
Well, it worked, Governor. And I want to be very clear about something. You have a backstage pass, all access VIP to Spicer and Company. I mean, we are the convention place to be. That you don't even need to go. You just need to watch Spicer and Company, and you'll see everything that you need to see. So that's the upside. You can stay in your house, you watch Newsmax, you watch Spicer and Company, and then you don't even have to get dressed up. It's a total win.
That is so cool. And that is the beauty of here a decade later, more than a decade later, how things have changed, right? Because now we don't have any excuse, do we, as consumers of news, as those who want to be cognizant of what's going on so that we can place, wise, well thought out votes. we don't have any excuse because the news is out there. You know, we can tune into you. We can hear truth. We don't have to just be stuck and relegated to what we used to be fed constantly. So people need to do their own homework, and a way to do that homework and allow for research to have already been done for us is to tune into you.
Oh, that's awesome. Governor, thank you for sharing your experiences with us and really giving us some insight into what it's like being up on that stage. I appreciate it. Look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All righty, guys. We're just getting started on our coverage of the national convention here. Up next, we're going to speak with the vice president's nephew, John Pence, about the key issues the Republicans will tackle. Then RNC national spokeswoman Liz Harrington is going to give us a behind-the-scenes look ahead of night one. And later, congressional candidate Kimberly Klacik. I'm getting so excited. Her video we showed you last week went viral. Now she's going to speak at the RNC. Maybe it's because she was on our show. I don't know. We're going to have to ask her about her appearance coming up on Spicer and Company.